Start on time, and whoever is late can catch up on the recording. So thank you for joining me on a Sunday morning. And it is from my promise to both you and me that this call is going to be totally worth our time because because I'm doing this call, I'm actually not on my farm, which is where my husband is today. And, we're having a farmers collective meeting. So for me, this is like the opportunity cost of this call is very high. So I want to make it worth every cent that we spend here together. Very short introduction. What is the purpose of this call? The purpose of this call, as some of you know, is to introduce those who have no idea about what I mean through and by an inner sovereignty approach to career crafting. I know it sounds like so much jargon. What is this? That's the main purpose. There is also another purpose with which I initially started saying we'll have this interactive session, which is to tell you more about and answer questions about the 6-month coaching program that I have starting October. But I want to let all of you know that this is not going to be like a promotion for that. What I want you to have from this 1 hour is an overview of the inner sovereignty approach, how you can use it. And I'm going to point you to enough resources that you can use by yourself. So even if you don't want to work with me or anyone else, you will have enough to do that work and go get onto that journey by yourself. And then, of course, for those of you, and I know some of you who want to work with me, either one-on-one or through the group container, have also signed up for this call. I will also answer your questions about how the process and structure of that will be. Okay, so I'm going to do, so please do use, if somebody just lets me know on the chat window once, if you can hear me, and I'll continue. We'll start with the, okay. Here? Okay, yes, good. Okay, so feel free to turn your videos on. I understand that because it's being live streamed, some of you might feel conscious and say, no, we don't want to turn our videos on, and I totally get that. But I'm also doing this just so that we can reach more people, because unfortunately, we hit the Zoom limit for 100 participants. So feel free to turn your videos on and, come online. If you're fine, we can have it as interactive. If not, if you don't want to turn your videos on, that's also okay. I would love to see faces anyway. Okay, so a very, Madhuri, you've turned your video on, but I can't really see your face. So, but that's okay. Just letting you know that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Vipula. Thank you, Priya. Nice. Yeah, now none of this feels like a conversation. Okay. So a very quick, just going to keep it a 2-line introduction to, for those of you who don't know me, in the context of inner sovereignty for career alchemy. So basically, I'm someone who, I hated my work. So I hated my first job, my second job, my third job. I really struggled. And I had this constant feeling that what's wrong with me, right? And that was the feeling being projected on to me by others also. Why can't you, others would kill for what you have. Why can't you be grateful? Why can't you just adjust? Or just adjust and things will be fine. And so I kept looking at, okay, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Luckily, somewhere along that, at that stage, I also happened to have a conversation with teacher who sort of, she took my complaints and my whole thing, which was in word, like I can't fit in. And I was completely in the victim mode, complaining mode, and also the blaming mode, because I was very angry at what I thought was the corporate world, because I worked in, 3 companies. I was very angry. I was very like, oh my God, so I was complaining. Oh, and then I was also angry about myself, which is like, why can't I fit in? And what's my life? What am I doing? So I was like this total pile of whining. And I say that with deep compassion, because I mean, it's not fun to be in that place, but I was, and I felt the pain. It's painful. And when I was in this place, I had this teacher and I had this conversation with her. She heard all of this. And she turned all that, whether it was blaming the corporate world, my bosses, other people, society, life, existence, or whether it was, completely blaming myself for not being able to fit in and something is wrong with me. She said, the real questions in your head, Ramya, are the relationship between people and their work. Why don't you go and study that? And I took that leap of faith basically because I had no other option, right? The other option was either to try and fit in, which was not working for me, or to, I used to have all these crazy thoughts of going like, kill everyone. And that was also not working for this young 20-year-old. So I said, okay, fine. I always like studying. And if someone thinks these are questions, and it resonated true, they are questions. So I set out to explore that. I had no idea that, 20 years or not, I think 25 years later, I will actually have something at the end of it. So I was just like, okay, let's find out. So I searched and I started searching. So I did apply for a PhD in OB, which is what this teacher suggested. So, and organizational behavior is the study of people at work. But apart from that, I was looking at Buddhist philosophy. I lived in an ashram. I went to Vipassana camp. I looked at the Gita because there were people who told me, hey, the Gita talks about, so look at Indian philosophy, people and work. So wherever anybody was talking even remotely about human beings and work, I was like, let's go find out. Let's see what it is. And so it was not just learning, it was also trying out, right? So this journey continued and the search was not futile. I got a lot of inputs. And did I find answers, fixed answers? No, I've still not found answers, but I found processes, tools, deeper understanding. And along that process, I started learning, growing, understanding more and more about the inner world, which is something that I'll, talk to you about. And I started understanding and learning that this whole journey is not just about making things work outside. Of course, I wanted to make things work outside, which is where my anguish came from. But in order to make it work outside, I also needed to make some changes inside of me. I didn't want to take all the burden, but I wanted to make some changes. So I'm going to tell you a story now. And this story had a deep impact on me. It's not an easy story, by the way. So the first time I heard it from one of my mentors. His name is Sri Kumar Rao. And I had taken his elective course at London Business School. He teaches a nice inner world mastery exploration course called Creativity and Personal Mastery. And this story, he told it in the course. And I'm going to warn, this story, it's a Zen story, but it might trigger some of you because when I heard it, I got severely triggered and I was arguing, no way, okay? But I'm still going to share it with you with that disclaimer. So here's the story. There was a man. He went to a new village. He was walking. He didn't like his old village. He was searching for a new place to live. At the entrance of the new village, there was a house and there was an old man sitting with a little boy, maybe his grandson. So this traveler who's visiting this new village comes and says, hello. And so the old man says, hello, how are you? What brings you here? So the young man says, you know what? I come from that other village, which is over the hill, and it's a horrible place to stay. It's toxic. People are mean. They're competitive. They're all out to get each other. They're so old fashioned. They just don't, they blah, blah, blah. So he basically gave all the problems about why he had left his old village. And he says, so I'm looking for a new place to live and work. Bahut ho gaya. I'm not doing that one in that village anymore. I've escaped. So the old man said, young man, I wish I had something nice to offer to you. I wish I could tell you this place is different, but you know what? Unfortunately, I'm going to give you the bad news. You're going to find this exactly pretty much the same as your old village. So this young man said, oh no, and here I was looking for a new place. Fine, good, you told me, you saved me all that trying, first coming and failing. I'll go looking for yet another village. And he walked on. An hour later, the man is still sitting and playing with his grandson. An hour later, another young man comes. And he's again walking, and this old man says, hello, young man, welcome. What brings you here? So this young man says, I come from that. And he pointed somewhere and said, that other village across the river. And I've lived there all my life, and I've made such friendships, and I have, such a loving community and beautiful friends and all. But I'm searching for something new. I want to explore something new. I feel like, I've outgrown it and I'm in the spirit of adventure. And so it's my spirit of adventure that brings me here. And I'm hoping that your village will be as nice and I'll make new friends and I'll learn and grow and find a new community here. And so this old man says, yes, of course, welcome, young man, welcome to this village. And I'm sure you'll find it just like as enriching as you found your earlier village. And the young man says, thank you. And he shows him, why don't you go there first? And this is a place where there's a community hall and blah, blah. This is a place where you can rent a house. And he gives him directions. The man goes on his way. Now this little boy who's sitting with his grandfather looks up as his grandfather with this puzzled face and says, what are you doing? Like 1 hour apart, you told the first man that is a horrible place, everyone's going to bitch, this, that, and they pull one another down, it's toxic. And then to this man, you're saying it's a very nice place, enriching, everyone will support you. And what's going on? Like, why are you lying like this? How can it be both? And so the grandfather looks at the young man and says, because my grandson, it is both. It is both. What I did not tell, this is how the village is. I told each of them, this is how you are likely to find this village. And I told the new man, this is how you are likely to find this village. And that was my first introduction to what now I understand through psychology. And I really understand how this happens. I understand the physics of that, what is loosely known as the self-fulfilling prophecy. Parts of it, if you've heard of placebo effect, Pygmalion effect, all of that. But this is also at a interpersonal level, okay? It's like we create, or I will say co-create our realities. So what the old man meant to say was that for the first person, when he came with his mental models of this is how people are, or this is how relationships are, and his own temperament, his own personality, his own way of looking at the world, and his own willingness to fight, or his own willingness to be defensive or blame, or whatever, the whole inner world architecture, right, that he's bringing into this new place, probability is very high. It's not certain, but probability is very high that he's more likely to experience, because that's how people will respond. That's how he will reach out to people. That's how he will make friends. That is how he will interpret failures or challenges or hardships or things not going his way and all of that, right? He'll take it personally, or he'll take it as attacks or failures. For the second person, who seem to have had a very enriching, growing, learning experience and connecting, chances are his inner architecture was functioning in a way that allowed that to happen. So with that inner architecture, now when he comes into this new village, again, it's not certain, but the probability is very high that, he is going to be reaching out, making friends, asking for opportunities, trying to help others, trying to help himself when there are failures, when there are challenges, when there are problems, or when things don't go his way. He's likely to interpret it as personal growth, as learning, as muscle building, resilience, and so his experience is likely to be different, more enriching. So this is what, so I've explained it more. The Zen story, by the way, ends with just the, father saying, and it's like this puzzle to decode. But I'm sure you guys can guess why it triggered me so badly. Because I was so angry with things not fitting out to me. And I was in this paradigm of course, I'm right. Everything about me is right. You can't question my rightness. I am fine. Everyone outside needs to change. Everyone outside is a problem. The corporate world is a problem. People are a problem. And why me? All of that. So for me, it hit me. And now I understand, of course, that's part of the ego. But it hit me in a way that, I could also be part of this. And I took some time. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't warm up to all this kind of inner work philosophy very easily, because I was totally in the paradigm of everyone else. I'm the princess. Everyone else has to change, reorganize themselves to make me happy. But life kept slapping me to a point where I had to wake up, and the curious part of me started saying, okay, let's see if there's some truth in it. And then the more I started studying, understanding how the brain works, so some of you will know about this, bounded awareness, this confirmation bias, there's things to support all of that. So that's where my PhD, reading. So there was all this philosophy and stories that I was getting, the Gita has a line saying your own mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. I was like, okay, let's not discount the Gita so soon, right? Let's go with the hypothesis that there's some wisdom there. And then, of course, then I went to Vipassana camp. And, you sit and meditate for 10 days or, in complete silence. Kuch to change hota hai. There's something that changes up, right? There's something that opens up. And I started willing to look at this whole inner architecture, inner thing. And then that's when the psychology supported me, right? The study. So I started looking more and more into that. So that's been my journey. Fortunately, because I was interested in the workspace, this became my primary domain of application. Of course, I continued my inner work journey in other domains, in my own spiritual life, for my relationships, all of that. But this sort of remained the academic place where I was exploring. And while I was out to actually find a cure just for myself, I started learning things more and more and more. And I realized that, okay, fine, if I can change it, if I can reinvent it, so can other people. So then I started creating courses around it, programs around it. Before that, of course, I did research. I found the whole, the body of work by Flow. And I realized that lots of people have done lots of work by Chiska Mehli. He's written 10 books on flow. I mean, that alone can change anyone's life. Okay. So I'm like, there is a lot of what I'm bringing. I've just put them together and learned and applied and experimented. And of course, done a little bit of fine tuning in terms of this part works and this part would, maybe this part is a little outdated. Maybe this part is an exaggeration, but this part is a tested hypothesis. So I've done that kind of stuff, but I really didn't create any of this from scratch. And what was supposed to be all for self-consumption then became into courses and programs that I could offer. So then when I joined IIM Bangalore in 2010, 14 years ago now, I started a course called Personal Values, Goals, and Career Options. And quite honestly, again, it was each year, it's the participants who, co-create that course with me, and they bring me, their insights. And then I used to make them journal through their journals I've launched and all of that. It's grown and grown and grown. And then, of course, I got trained as a coach 3-4 years ago. I started coaching people. And there again, I'm deep gratitude, because when you are a coach, you really get a preview into the world. Like in a program or in a class, people like when you're doing one-on-one coaching, you just get, of course, you're there to help the other person. But for someone who's just interested in the academic inner architecture, you get that preview into not just your journey, but into other people's journeys. So that also, started helping me refine this whole body of work. And then, of course, there's been my own ambitions and the things that I wanted to do in my work, where I wanted to grow. And every time I hit an upper ceiling, right? So there's this theory of upper limits by Gay Hendricks, which is, again, infinite teachers. I can't even quote them all. But, basically it suggests when you're growing and expanding and you create your own upper limits, think of them as glass ceilings, and you say, this is this much. And then you start self-sabotaging, right? So we're such powerful creators. We start creating havoc. We say we can't have it and all of that. We even create physical, things. So basically, then you expand that. So as I have been growing, then I have been understanding load. So I've been hitting up more and more against my own limiting beliefs about the world of money, about business, about the corporate world, things that I was severely judgmental about. I've been, literally asked to challenge those judgments and grow past them as part of my own growth journey. And as I could do that, and as I could study that, and as I've been able to uncover them, I started bringing those now back into the curriculum, saying, again, if I can uncover these, other people can uncover these as well. So this is the process of inner sovereignty. I have one slide. This will be the only slide today, so bear with me. To sort of summarize this, is this slide showing? If someone can just let me know on the chat, or do a thumbs up, Vipula Priya. Okay, fine. Okay, so this is what I call the inside out approach. Now, I've had to create my own jargons. I'll tell you why, because there's a lot of career coaching out there. There's a lot of career development programs, and they're all good. They're all coming from their own place. But I also have a need, and I had a need, and I will continue to have a need of explaining to people that no, this, I'm not just helping you do a strength finder, find out your strengths and say which is the industry that I fit in best or something like that, right? So this is actually going way deeper. And so I had to create some jargon. So I'm calling it the inside out approach. And it has two parts to it, okay? And this, again, I have learned through trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, so much that I swear by it. I swear by it that through my life and the life of people I've worked with, I think, and this is just my view, okay, I'm not like trying to create a master theory there, but I think focusing on any one of these two pillars is not enough in the work of careers. I don't know about nirvana. I don't know about reaching the infinite ultimate truth and all of that. But in the world of crafting a career on this planet in a material way, you need both of these. Okay, so what is inner mastery? And I'll tell you why one without the other will take you this far, but not further. And then again, so what is inner mastery? This is the inner architecture, right? So what are mental models? These are our beliefs. So if you've read, I think, what's his name? Adam Grant, right? Yeah. He came up with this book now, and I'm so grateful to him because I was finally, what's the name of the book? I send it as a reference. Just look up. All his books are great, by the way. But one of the books that he talks about is where, his latest books, or one of the later books, where he actually talks about, hey, people, why, we keep upgrading our phones and computers, but nobody thinks of upgrading your belief systems, your mental models. And that's it. So that's the one-line summary of mental models, right? It's our belief systems, our structures. So basically, our brain has decided this is what work means, or this is what business means, right? The definitions we've created. This is what failure means. This is what success is. This is what money means. So these are our mental models. And of course, we need them, right? A child without any mental models cannot function in the world. But these mental models become our traps because they're not the truth, right? So as we grow up, as we grow beyond our early judgment systems, our family, our whatever, our brain has been programmed, we need to upgrade these, right? So 20 years ago, I thought corporate world all evil, money, very bad thing, okay? All of that. And if I did not upgrade these, I could not be doing what I'm doing now. And it is not about right and wrong. It is just about a belief is a belief. It's a knowledge. It's like, it's a model. That's it. So we're working with our inner mental models, that journey of disentangling, letting go of the ones that don't work, the unfunctional ones, and upgrading the ones, upgrading our belief system. Attention. So I gave my first TEDx talk on attention, our gateway to change. Huge believer. So there's so much here, so much here. I've also learned from, I started my journey in the space of attention, more in the metaphysical space. You've heard about the law of attraction, and, secret became so popular. And I was like, oh, really? What is it? Started really experimenting. And then of course I've, started meditating a lot. So meditation is also a lot about directing your attention. So I got really, really interested. And then the field of positive psychology, it's like, are you looking at the glass as half empty or half full? That's about your attention, right? So the two-line summary is yes. And then there's mirror neurons, which basically means if I'm giving you my attention, I'm actually becoming aware of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and then I can mimic them. So, this causes, like, if you see riots and places like that, where, people are angry, and you ask sometimes, why are you angry? You're just angry because everyone around you is angry, or everyone's afraid. That's because of our mirror neurons. So attention is a big, big, big key resource that we can learn to manage better. Then there's stress, very, very important. And I actually have 3 pre-recorded resources for you to work on each one of these by yourself, okay? And I'm going to point you to where you can access those. Again, stress for me, it's so important, so important, so important, so important. I know, I don't know why. Basically, one line, because when we are in that fight or flight stressed mode, I'm not saying have zero stress. Even I don't have zero stress, but just understand this about stress, that when we are, it's not a good thing, bad thing. It's just a mode of functioning. Like your phone has a sleep mode or a silent mode, vibration mode. Think of it like that. It's a mode. It's a stress mode. When we are in the stress mode, our reptilian brain is in the driving seat, not the rest of our prefrontal lobes and thinking mind and all of that. There's a certain default way default models that the reptilian brain has access to in the stressed mode. There are hormones which are making sure that you do things in a certain way, you interpret things in a certain way, you fight out in a certain way, you run away, so your entire response reaction system is different. It's like you have a different mini personality when you're stressed. So why is it so important to manage? Because I am a different Ramya when I'm calm and relaxed, and I am a different Ramya when I'm in the stressed mode, in the fight or flight mode. Literally, it's like Ramya 1 and Ramya 2, okay? Oh, I know I'm oversimplifying, but you get that. So I can do a lot of meditation, I've really evolved my thinking and done all of this, and I have this beautiful, lovely persona, Ramya 1. I've done the work. And by the way, most of our intelligence is there in this calm space, and our stressed reptilian brain, not very intelligent, okay? Go back to the primitive pattern. And then I get stressed, and the smallest of things can stress me. And we all know this, right? And that's, again, I do have some video series where I'll show you how there's something called attention deficit trait, where simple things like multitasking can just hijack your brain into that state. So you're going to stress trait, and then you're suddenly like this Ramya 2. Who's not intelligent, who's not resourceful, who's like, no, back in that. And then what happened to all the inner work that I did? How did I just lose it? Darling, nobody lost it. You didn't lose it. I didn't lose it. We're just functioning in the stressed mode. Breathe in, breathe out, do the basic, and it's easy. It's not so easy also, but again, it's a practice. Manage your stress. Get out of the fight or flight, you will get back access to all that beautiful parts of your personality that you worked on. Yeah. So that's why don't manage stress. A lot of the rest of it, you're not leveraging it. Okay. Then thoughts. Again, I've learned a lot and gained a lot. Thoughts, of course, psychology is all about thoughts, but my own biggest ahas, I just want to point these sources out to y'all. If anyone wants to do your own deeper exploration, works by Louise Hay, Byron Katie. Access consciousness is a modality where I, have gained a lot from. So there are Eckhart Tolle. So his For Emotions again. So again, our world of thoughts, it's our inner world. There's an objective reality out there, but then there's a subjective reality. It's our thoughts, right? And that's what the Gita is also talking about, your thoughts. So managing our thoughts, an entire journey in itself. Every spiritual form of mastery talks about it. Every self-help modality talks about it. Every form of inner work talks about it, right? So I'm just bringing all of this and using it in the context of work and career. Okay. So of course, when we're working, we're not like without our thoughts. So the same level of mastery of thoughts, but in this context. Emotions. I think I'd skip if you've signed up for this. There's a lot of awareness around emotions already. Look up emotional intelligence. Again, my entry, I was this total engineer, by the way. I had no reverence for emotions. I was also a poet. I used to write them and the emotions would come, and that's it. But I never thought emotions was something that could be managed or handled. And let me also confess, I don't believe a lot in these scales, and I don't take most scales. But when I did take scales on emotional intelligence, resilience, and all. And again, that's when the ego, and I found myself so low in all of that. And I realized my only high scores were in that pure IQ thing, because that's the only thing I developed. So these were all very, very big learning grounds for me. My journey started with one book, and I'm not saying it's the best book, but I'm just telling you why it was my starting point. And I'm very grateful to a friend it was a PhD senior who recommended that book to me. It's called Destructive Emotions. And it's written by 3 people. And there was one is Daniel Goleman, who's the father of emotional intelligence and from the management space. The other is John Kabat-Zinn, who's a Buddhist monk. And the third is a neuroscientist. I forget his name. So I'm glad that this was my first book, because it was scientific enough. Basically, what they were doing, it was philosophical enough, because they had a monk there. There was a management person. I've lived most of my life in one business school or the other, so I understand that language. That made sense. And then there was a pure neuroscientist, and neuroscientists look at everything. They look at your brain just like they would look at a machine, right? So it appealed to the engineer part of me. And what they did is they get people into the lab and they actually scan their brains and see the results. And they're doing it in a very mechanistic, systematic way. And so, yeah, I've sort of binged on the book and see the title, Destructive Emotions. The book, of course, it just basically lays out all the ways in which the so-called, and I'm saying so-called because I've upgraded and revised my own views of not seeing negative as negative, but, is more than that, but the so-called negative emotions. And fair enough, the fear, anger, all of that, anxiety, and the effect it has on our body, mind systems and thinking styles. So it was a big wake-up call, because once I read that book, I was like, I'm not just sitting on this hotbed of, before that, I was just this walking, talking, kabhi bhi koi bhi emotion aata hai. At most, I'll write a poem. Otherwise, I'll say, hey, this is my emotion. Deal with it. If you can't deal with me, get out. Like, basically, this is me, right? It's like the color of my hair. I'm not going to change it. This is my emotion. I'm not going to change it. It's me. So it really made me stop and relook and say, okay, own my emotions and start looking at, is it possible to regulate them, manage them, change them? And now I'm, of course, total in a business mindset. Like, why not? If managing my emotions can help me work better and create more impact and fulfill my dreams, of course, I'll do it. Okay, so that's emotions. And then there's resilience. So I was one of the fringe benefits of emotions. By the way, the field of resilience, very old, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years old. Psychologists have been talking about it all the time. The world of business woke up to it, I think even before I had started teaching the PVGCO course also, right? Because I found by the time I started researching, I already found a huge body of work of resilience in management and all. But it was still a very new word. People don't know, what do you mean by resilience? And then COVID happened and suddenly every company, every workshop, everyone was talking about resilience. And I think that's good, because now, what is resilience really? It's like one-line definition, like in physics, something puts you down. Can you come up? Can you bounce back? Can you learn? Can you grow from it, right? So again, it was for me, I was like, I had it aisa socha bhi nahi tha. Something puts me down, it's a bad thing, of course, right? Now I'm like, yes, it's a bad thing. But hey, it's not all about just what's happening to me. There's something here also about how I can deal with it, how I can navigate it. And that's my resilience. And then not just deal with it, cope with it, navigate it, but learn from it, grow from it, become stronger, develop myself, right? So I become more adventurous, more brave. I can take on bigger challenges. And next time I'm not so scared now that something will bump me over. That's also resilience. So in psychology, resilience is not just the same as coping. Coping is coming back. I'm back where I was before this whole thing hit me. But now it's about learning and growing from it. Again, big field. Okay, so I'm introducing you in 2 lines, like what people have done years and years of work and research on, okay? And then I put this thing called you into it. So one of the, when I used to teach this, the PVGCO course, I would have this very sort of dramatic way of introducing the course and saying, you are the syllabus, you are the curriculum, you are going to be your end-term project. It's all about you. It is. And and I'll tell you something, again, I have to say this because it's not coming from a place of ego. We're not building up your ego. But it is still, you are going to be the center, because I've also dabbled in and I say dabbled, but I think it's more like immersed myself in lots of different schools of philosophy. Again, I've lived in ashrams. I've been part of what now maybe my son was right, he calls cults. But a lot of these places have this, hey, let's dissolve the ego. It's not about you. Take yourself out of the equation. You don't matter. Right? It's about the cause or the purpose or about enlightenment or something. And I get that. I get that also. I get that. But all I want to humbly say is, if you are creating your career, keep yourself. Keep this construct of you as a walking, talking, alive construct. It doesn't have to be this, whole demonic, egoic. If you've seen this latest depiction of Ramayana, that movie where Saif Ali Khan plays Ravana, which is very, very you, right? There's that big thing of you depicted there. I'm not saying you have to make it that, but I'm saying have some container, some construct. Don't forget your name. Don't dissolve your identity completely. Keep your identity. So this part about you, it's all, we're going to look at things like self-image. You create it out of your choice, as loosely or as tightly as you want, but don't dissolve it, and pay attention. So self-worth, self-image, self-love, personal branding, all of that. So you is going to be part of the architecture through which you will do your work and or run your business, or both, right? So we have that as part of the inner work. Okay, now you can do all of this and you can say, Kiya, Kiya, I've been there. Done, sitting, reframing, doing the journaling, the reflecting, and like, it's sometimes you can get very almost addicting doing it and nothing in the outer world. And then say, why are the results coming? And I think that is one of the drawbacks of, movies like Secret and all, which got very sensationalized. Like, yeah, because we live in the outer world also. Okay. It's not just all about, at least not in my experience. Okay. So we have hands, we have legs, we're moving about, we're talking, we're doing things. We live in the outer world also, right? So you're not hiding in a cave and doing the inner work so much so that miraculously some light will now come because our inner world is perfect. Waiting for that. I'm not ruling it out as a possibility, but we're not doing that here. What we're doing is we're also doing our walking, talking, living, breathing, outer world activities. So we're going to be taking actions. I think it's very important. And this is my MBA self, my business school professor. This is everything that, we want to teach and inculcate in every business school, why you have all these clubs, all the networking events, all of that. It's important. It opens doors, right? It helps us grow. It gives us exposure, gives us chances to try out things. So it's about acting. It's about choosing. Choosing can sometimes just be, yes, this versus this. I'm making that choice and I'm going with it, owning that choice, trying new things, experimenting. If I don't try like some years back, I was born a veg, but then I tried non-veg and then I said I didn't like it. So if I don't try it, how will I know if I like it or not? Does it suit my body or not, right? So trying out, we call it prototyping, experiments, like internship, this tryout period. Investigate. I will never ask anyone to turn off the researcher in you, whether you have that in your name. So investigate, understand, explore, right? Keep that student, that curiosity alive. Organize. I'm not just talking. I'm a big fan of Corn Mary, by the way. She saved my life. Without her, I could not have got married a second time. I promise you. I love her. Hers is also an inside-out approach, by the way. I know a lot of people make fun of her, but I love her approach. But it's not just that kind of organizing. I'm also including, of course, that's important. You have to organize your stuff, your work, and I'm not great at it, but without it, you can't get stuff done. Is everyone with me? We'll be piled, just like you'll be piled in the clutter of your house, you'll be piled in the clutter of your ideas, you'll be piled in the clutter of all the tabs, all the opportunities, all the things on your calendar. We can't work. Okay, so organization is very important. Then it's about organizing our time, organizing our energy. Does everyone get that? Yeah. So there's a lot of organization that is important. That is part of the outer work. You can do it as much as you can. And then network. And I know some people are like, the MBAs here will get it, and the others will like, mujhe nahi karna networking. I get that. I was there. Okay. But here's the thing. The truth is, we don't live work alone. Even if you're going and meeting your neighbor, it is a network. You're forming a connection. So take the judgment out of it and think of networking just as allowing yourself to give to others, others to give to you, and for us to be greater than me. And frankly, unless you're a very, 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 very solo artist and also never want to showcase or sell your work, that kind of an artist, you really can't function just alone. Okay. So that's the part of the outer world. Okay, I will stop now. I got really carried away with the time, and I didn't realize this one slide will take so long. I will introduce you to two things that I have to. I'll show you the sites, and then we'll take Q&A. Okay, because and we'll go longer if we need to, because it was my mistake that I didn't look at the time. Two things that I want to show you. So one is. Just sharing the screen with Is my screen shared? Yeah, so can you see something that says, shows 3 courses, like MOOC
Yeah,
courses?
yes.
So this is my website, craftingallives.com. So once you go there, you can go on courses, programs, you'll see MOOC courses, you'll come to this page. Now, these are 3 courses. All of them are completely free. All of them are 10 years old. That doesn't make it outdated. It just makes it it's a platform, and it is the nuts and bolts of what I have been building. Okay. So this first one is a course. This is, and all of them are co-created during my time at IIM Bangalore. So, yeah, so it's co-branded with IIM Bangalore, and this one is with edX, also crafting realities, work, happiness, and meaning. So in this, it's actually a 6-week course with a lot of self-paced exercises, reflections, and of course, it's not as upgraded as my current body of work, but nothing in this, like there's nothing that I would go back and say, no, I don't agree with it anymore, right? So it's just, think of it as, so, the things I talked about: redefining success, redefining failure, redefining work, resilience, emotions, all of that is there in this course at a basic level with self-paced exercises and activities. In fact, last week, and I should find it out because somebody posted on LinkedIn, I don't even know this lady, I forget her name, and she found it on edX, and she spent, she did it, and I hear back every now and then. So no one's promoting this because this is all free and nobody makes money, neither IMB nor me nor edX. So unfortunately, I can't spend my whole life promoting just free work, but it's there. So please use it if you want to. Okay, a lot of content here. Okay, and again, you'll see a very old version of me. I'm very awkward in front of the camera and all, but that doesn't matter, right? What matters is the content, and I think the content is still gold, and I know it because I hear back from people. It's just people have to find it. The second thing is managing our inner world. So this is again 15 video lectures. So what I talked to you about: mental models, confirmation bias, self-fulfilling prophecy. Again, these are all video recordings. This is again 10 years old. All this content was created in 2012, 2013, really. But it's the nuts and bolts. Again, nothing here that I would go back and say that, no, I disagree with it. It's just evolved further. Okay. So, yeah, again, it might be boring because it's just like a prof explaining the concepts, but it's there. Okay. And then it has a lot of underneath it. If you click on that, you'll also see a lot of reference researches. Okay. And then, like I told you, managing stress. Again, this is 12 video lectures, and I think I've sort of, really detailed it out: the attention deficit trait, stress, all of that. So please use all of these. And I think all of this is in the context of work, right? So this can really, really help you. And the other thing I want to show you now is, this is the 6-month coaching program that I'm starting on 1st October. And again, I've explained it quite, as much as I wanted to here. So, and there are 10 modules. So what are these modules? These are modules, basically, think of it as of today or a few months back when I, finalized this curriculum, the things that I think you really need to look at. So like I told you, the inner work journey, by the way. Okay, so there is just the mental models, the belief system, just working and unpacking with that can give you so much leverage. Now you can do that through reflection and inquiry, which I do not want to downsell because I've used a lot of that. But there are also other ways in which you can use it, because over the years, I started following a lot of energy modalities. There are hypnotic ways of doing it. You can do it through meditation, and all of that is my upgraded technology that I bring to this, which I cannot write down because it would take forever. But those are parts of what you will get access to that in the live calls. So in this curriculum, again, I will have pre-recorded, I will have little video sessions, more compact, because people want only compact nowadays. As you can see, the long ones, nobody has time for it. So the very compact practitioner, 20-minute, 30-minute recordings to understand, reflective exercises, and then live calls with me where I can take you further, and where we can also do one-on-one coaching. So how is coaching different from teaching? So the content that I showed you, those 3 courses, that's all teaching, right? Where you get the theory, you get the exercises, you have to do it yourself. In coaching, we are actually interacting one-on-one. So you bring in your life situation, you bring in the places you're stuck with, and then through my experience, through asking you questions, through making you yourself untangle, that's what a coach does. They help you unravel your own thing. So I do a mix of teaching, coaching, and mentoring. Mentoring is where, if I've been through exactly the same dilemma or exactly the same roadblock and I've worked through it, then sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? I can just tell you, you know what, I sort of, maybe your thing is different, but this is what I did, and it can really give you ideas. And that's the usefulness and power of a mentor. And I've gained so much I have coaches and mentors, by the way, supporting me all the time. So that's what a mentor brings to it, right? So the live sessions you'll have with me will be a mix of coaching and mentoring, whatever is the cause that's asked for. And the domains that we will be looking at, so those are what I've called modules. I didn't know whether to call them modules or pillars, but yeah, think of it. So these are the 10 broad things. This is about a mindset. I think I will let you read these at your own time. So there's success. It's about de-villainizing work. This is my life's mission, by the way, right now. So I'm like, I made work into a villain, and it still breaks my heart. It makes me very, oh my God, like, when, especially when I see that there's also this whole business angle to it. Again, business isn't bad, but in order to sell leisure and holidays and Netflix, a lot of the campaigning is that you work and you're tired, and then you take a holiday, and then you binge on Netflix, and then you spend time with the family. I have nothing against spending time with family, beautiful holidays, binging on Netflix. But in order to, you can have wonderful time at work, right? Why not? Why have to say that I have to do all this in order to balance out that unpleasant time that I spend at work? So that is sort of the current that I want to sort of, do my bit to reverse that big mental model of work that's where it's turning into a villain in people's minds and experiences. Okay, so, and of course, embracing flow at work is part of this, redefining work. So again, I've made it very condensed, but there's a lot here. Okay, so this could be a book in itself, more than one book. And then so my earlier programs don't have this because I was very, very touch me not with money. I hadn't, healed my own relationship with money. And I was very awkward around money, which was been one of my huge learning journeys as I started becoming an entrepreneur, and a very enriching one. So really, integrating all of that with your work, with the idea of contribution, the idea of service. Your lizard brain. So this, like I told you about stress, that's our lizard brain, but there are certain other things also that activate our lizard or reptilian brain. So maneuvering that, because without that, a lot of the other good work goes away. We talked about failure, setbacks, crisis. We talk about resilience as well here itself. So actually quite a bit. Inner voices. Some of you may not know what it is, but the shortcut is that constant, the self-talk, the one that says, no, you can't do it. That's the inner critic. No, I'm afraid to go there. Who's afraid? It's probably a childhood voice, the child in you that was afraid once of a certain thing and it's speaking up, right? So that's the child's voice. So this is in the realm of working with thoughts. And again, there's a lot of work here in the area of personal growth, development, spirituality. But hey, when you show up at work, you think your inner critic doesn't speak up, the inner child doesn't speak up. Of course it does. So what I've done is I've just brought all of this. Again, I didn't reinvent. I've not built any of this from scratch, but I've just brought it all into application in the world of work and career. Okay. And again, this could be my mission number 2, because I've always felt like the weirdo who didn't fit in, the strange, crazy person, and increasingly learning. That's the strength. That's me. There are, gifts there to be unlocked, leveraged, and turned into USPs and channeled, right? Not in a destructive nuisance way, but in a way to help and serve others as well as ourselves. So there's a lot. So everything around your, personal branding, the you part, a lot of it comes here. Think of it as reinventing you, but also leveraging you. Okay. And then what I talked to you about, the organization, all of that, as well as, the visualization, setting goals for ourselves, measurement. A huge believer in the power of goal setting, but also in how we judge and evaluate ourselves. Is it on the basis of how far we've come or versus what's the gap? So there are just so many nuances and intricacies in the way we set goals, in the way we use goals as tools and measures that can actually work for us or against us, right? So navigating that whole space. And again, so that's what's here. So, and then there are different ways in which you can do this. I totally don't recommend self-paced, and I'll tell you why, because I've put it there because some people want it. Time zone may not work, or you just want to do it yourself. But I've enrolled myself in so many self-paced courses, and I tell you, I've not done a lot of justice to it. Since I had the edX course, which is completely self-paced, it's, we are very good at procrastinating. We'll do it some other time. And so again, unless you have and that also reflects in my pricing. I'm like, I'm going to make it, very, very like, unless you have very strong reasons, not recommended. So the cohort plus pod is a format that I've experimented with this in other programs that I've done. Like, I did a Super Bloom Fellows Women Leadership Program, and we did the pod format. I did redesign your career, a couple of batches of that some years ago, used again the pod format. What is a pod? It's like a small group where you will meet as a pod one week, and you will meet live with me the next week. And then the next week, again, you'll meet with your pod, and then you'll meet live, right? And you will be doing, so there will be a little bit of content, like I told you, 20, 30 minutes will be the compulsory viewing, because a lot of people don't have time more than that. And then there'll be lots of reference resources, believe me, a lot of reference for the seekers, which you can look at your own time. But based on this 20, 30 minute of recorded video, there will be an exercise for you to do. That's the only way to do this inner work. You have to get your hands and pen and paper and thoughts dirty. So sometimes it'll be a reflection, sometimes it'll be mind mapping, sometimes it will be going and speaking with someone and interviewing. So there, it could be a blend of inner and outer work, but there'll be some work to do, based on which you will have your pod meeting, reflect on that. And again, based on which you will have the live interaction with me, where of course you can talk about the exercise and that topic, but you can also bring up any other place where you are stuck, because none of this is linear. I put 1 to 10, but maybe other than number 1, which is like a foundation, and maybe number 2, the hero's mindset, but that's also, all of them, you think of it as there's no sequentiality there, which means when you're working on one thing, you're working on your definition of success, and then, fear of failure comes up and you bring it up in the call. I'm not going to tell you wait for that week when we will do that, because that's the beauty of the live calls. We will process it then and there. And then of course you can, again, we're working in layers. So you will work on it again as a layer when it comes up in that particular week. So that's just to systematically make sure you have at least looked at each of these 10 places in depth once during the 6 months, and interacted with me and built your own muscles and rituals and tools and techniques to keep going forward. What I'm also doing, I've not announced it now, but I will most probably do it, is keep something like an alumni membership or a container, which will be like very, very minimally priced, but just so that as an ongoing touch base where you can log into the live calls and you can also ask questions, because this is something I'm getting more and more convinced about this. When it's coming to my own like physical fitness and stuff like that, right? So I have no yoga teacher actually trained, and I can obviously do my own yoga, but I find it so much easier to just show up in a yoga class. I go to Zumba classes. I can always, play the YouTube videos and dance at home alone, or just do whatever dance I want for fitness. But I find that I just gain so much when I show up, and I, gain from the energy of the teacher. You're staying in that container, in that vibration. You're showing up at a certain time. So you're literally, it's like you're creating this sangha. You're creating this, a rhythm and a place where you show up, and it's like a pick me up, right? And you're sort of reminded. So it's not about knowing, but it's also about that regular practicing. It's like going to a gym, actually. That's an example more people will resonate with, where everyone is working towards that. So we're leveraging on that power of conformity to work for us by hanging out with people. like-minded and having those conversations. So even beyond those 6 months, I will invite you to, sort of, if you want to, that is, stay in touch, because that's what I think, because this journey never ends. I'm on the journey. I'm still on the journey. It's a journey of constant upgradation, reinvention. And why should it end? I mean, life is endless. The curriculum of life is endless. Of course, our careers are endless. We are endless, and the journey is endless. And the journey is fun. At the end of the day, it's going to be the journey, right? I think everyone here will know by now, it's not a destination. Your job, your career is not a destination, right? So, okay. So this is also a journey. And so these are the 3 ways. Again, there is a private coaching. Again, and 1 or 2 of you have reached out and I've not replied yet, sorry. But, and I'll tell you why, because my bandwidth is not allowing this more and more, because in terms of what I want to do, like I told you, I have a mission to devillainize work. And I realize that there's so many people struggling with this. So my focus really is on reaching as many people as possible, which means private coaching is becoming more and more unsustainable for me. Like even before this, I never worked with more than 4 people, private coaches at the same time. And that's my choice of work-life balance. And I want to do the other things I have to do in life. But I think I'm going to cut that down even more. So the option is there, but chances are, like right now it's full, right? So it depends on the availability. And it's also, I'm going to push and invite people here, because this is also going to be fun. Okay. So just because you'll actually get a lot more. I mean, I know private has its own benefits, but so Okay. So you're going to read up more and we'll take questions. And by the way, sorry, everyone, before we start the Q&A, so this is an introduction to the inner sovereignty approach. That's what this call is about. It's not a coaching call. So your questions should be about the inner sovereignty approach, how you can use it for yourself. If you have questions about the coaching program, of course, methodology, please ask that also. But this is not a coaching call, which means your question cannot be, hey, I'm struggling with this in my career. What should I do now? That, by the way, even in a coaching call, I won't be telling you what you have to do now, but it will be a long journey of helping you unravel that for yourself. So don't ask, if you ask those kinds of questions, I'll say this is a coaching question. Let's talk about the inner sovereignty approach and how you can use it. And the pros and cons of that, and all of that is most welcome. Okay, I am not looking at the chat. I'm on the live, and I'm not looking at the direct messages. Sorry. So ask questions live. And if for some reason you want to ask in a written form, drop in an email to contact@craftingourlives.com. I usually either create written answers and put it out as part of FAQ, or I'll, create a video about it if I can. But right now, do ask live. And please on video to ask. So, and this is just because I get more information from your face. I'll really be able to help you better.
Hi, Ramya. Can you hear me?
Hi, Kamal.
Hi. So we talked about a lot of things like mental models and then inner and outer work. So, I mean, I'm just curious, like, will we be able to cover all this in 6 months? To just understand from a course perspective, like, is it really possible to cover all this in 6 months?
Thank you for asking that, Kamal, because I often get people like, half an hour mein mujhe sab kuch samjha do. And I'm glad you're asking, is it in 6 months? And I'll be completely honest with you. Thoroughly, no, not a complete academic understanding or practitioner understanding. But you will get enough tools, techniques to start doing it. Right? So it's like, can you even cover everything about yoga in 6 months? No, you can't. And it's just one field. But you can have a beginner course where you learn Surya Namaskar itself. Bahut ho gaya, and you practice it, right? You'll get lots of benefits from that itself. So that is what. So on each of these, I'll give you enough for you to start your journey and start really reaping benefits. And then beyond that, now it's going to be your interest in exploring further, which one you want to go to deeper. And if you don't want to go deeper in anything, but you just want to have a better experience with your work, that's also happening.
Okay. Okay. And you spoke about mental models. So, though I've been like also trying, but when it comes to obviously situations, the whole mental models go away for a toss, and then your reptilian brain comes into play. So, how to really help change that is a big question I have. Like,
Yeah.
uh, I've been struggling with it.
Kamal, you're not alone. And I'll tell you this, for the longest of time, I used to judge myself. And I'll tell you why, because I did all this inner work. And then when I would get into the stress response or get triggered by something, I would lose it, right? And then my mother's not on this call, so I'll just say it. She's been one of my, and I love her extremely, but she's like, what's the use of all this meditation you do? ऐसा behave करना है. Or my husband, like, what's the use of everything you, and then I used to go into this whole, oh my God, is everything wasted? Because now I've shown up as this complete brat and thrown a tantrum, despite all of this inner work. And which is when I realized, no, once the reptilian brain is soothed, it's literally that once the fight or flight is gone, which goes with, I am safe, all is well. Sometimes it's as quickly as that, like Amar Khan did. Nothing's attacking me. All is good. All the wisdom comes back. It's not gone. All that years of meditation with, it's not gone. Now, I'm not saying you won't get judged. When I lose it, I still get judged, and people will say, Kya? My husband will say, go take your own course. I know somebody, like when I'll be, panicking. I know somebody who talks about overcoming fear of failure. She gave a TED talk on that. Go listen to that. I get it. I mean, yes, kar lo, mazak kar lo. But I also know that when I soothe this anxiety, which I know how to, and that's why there's a module on that, I will find that peace and calm in a way that's only getting better and better and better. And yeah, so as long as you don't judge yourself, and this reptilian brain, the fight or flight is there. It's part of our architecture. Even people who meditate for years and years, I know they decrease it, but even they come up. And over years, I've realized that there's also a function. It always teaches you something, right? Like when we talk about our values and our boundaries, unless something triggers us and we get so angry, and then later on you've calmed down, and you might have lost some things as a hand, a leg, a friend as the result of the anger. You feel that you've come back. And when you inquire and say, why did I get angry? Typically, there's also a wisdom, a knowledge that comes, because this is very important and sacred for me. And this person tread on that. I'm not justifying the anger, but it gives greater self-awareness. And sometimes you do it alone. Sometimes you can do it with the help of a therapist. I'm not a therapist, by the way, but I have therapists. So when I get into this very afraid of something or very angry of something, and I process it, sometimes I process it on my own using EFT or inquiry, and many times it works. When it doesn't, I actually dial my therapist and inquire, and then I understand more about myself. And sometimes those understandings are so important. Like I realize certain things. Okay, this is non-negotiable. These things. And it helps me in my future choices of whom I'll work with or what I'll do. Remember outer plus inner?
Yes.
So, yeah. So don't judge yourself, Kamal. And it's a journey. And if others judge you, they will. You know you're doing your work. It will only get better. That much of it, right? Can't get worse.
Yeah.
Okay, Swati.
Thanks, Ramya.
I have logged in from my wife's account, so that's why it is showing up Swati.
Okay.
So my question is very simple. Is this course for people who are in their final lap of the career? When I say final lap, so like 20 plus experience, and then there are another 10, 15 left.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, absolutely. So one of the smaller prototypes that I'd done around this, the redesign your career, I had people who were in their 60s and they were looking at second career. So absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I will take the liberty of saying, I don't think this course is for anyone.
You froze.
Back to myself and a lot of, again, people I've interacted with, like even at IMD when I teach the very young people without work experience, I just feel there isn't enough previous experience sometimes, or the need and motivation to reflect to get the worth and value and use it. You might just be wasting your time and effort. Thoda aur wait karke fir karna, then you'll get much more, is what I'll say. So older, I would say no upper limit. Younger, I would say, again, if you're drawn to it, whom am I to judge? Because I know Vipula's been in a Saturday coaching program. She's the only one who attended every session and she's really young. So there will be exceptions.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramya.
Yeah. Shruti.
Hey, Ramya. So just wanted to understand what is the level of, weekly time commitment which might be needed for this program?
Absolutely. So, and I'll give it to you in a range, okay? The minimum, and if you want, you can do more because that's how it's structured. So weekly, so I'll make it fortnightly actually, because the flexibility you will have is one module per fortnight. So in a fortnight, which is 2 weeks, you'll have to watch around 20 to 30 minutes of video content. Do a reflective exercise, which will take minimum 1 hour, I would say, half an hour to 1 hour in that fortnight. Some of you might, and in the reflection exercise, or there'll be compulsory and then there'll be optional. So, if you're not currently working or you have a flexi time, part-time job, you have a lot of free time, you can actually take it, do more levels of experiment. But this is the minimum that you'll do. Yeah, half an hour to 1 hour. And your pod meeting, which will be 1 hour, and the live session, which will be 1 hour. Live session live. Pod meeting will be in a group of 3. You're highly, you can readjust the time because it's just 3 of you if you can't do it, but highly encouraged to do that also. That's the and I've also designed the program because, part of everything I've done from the time, like if you see that edX course and the my earlier programs to now, I've been working overtime. When I do things, I do overtime. Is in how can I make this easy to do, less work but more impact, right? Almost like the 80-20 rule. So that's the logic I'm using in terms of cutting down. Like Kamal said, it is very rich content, but I'm like dumbifying it in some ways. Yes, there is a loss, but my loss is I always keep that 20. How can you do 20% of the work and get 80% of the results? So I'm not promising 100%, and then I'll tell you what more you can do to get 100%.
Sure. So these sessions you said would happen once every fortnight? The pod session and the live session alternate fortnights, or every fortnight we have both of these?
Every fortnight we have both. So you will be encouraged to actually keep a weekly rhythm where you either meet your pod or you meet me.
Okay.
Yeah. In a group, that is, right? And the thing is, the weekly is just so that it becomes easier for you to remember that, and it's going to be Wednesday night. So every Wednesday night I show up. But you always have the flexibility to readjust with your little pod of 3 people. And from past programs, I know that pods do that, but it's an easier reschedule for 3 of you.
Sure. And one last question. So what is the level of like connectivity between all the modules with our other regular work commitments? If let's say I missed one of the sessions, is it I just lose the connect, or can I just continue it in the next session?
So like I told you, apart from the first one, which is inner sovereignty, which is like a foundation, there is no sequentiality really.
Okay.
It's like they're all, so when I do corporate workshops and executive programs and all, like just zoom into one thing. So, and they're all, connected, which is also why when we're doing one, but if you're stuck in the other, I will actually weave that into this, disentangle, and then say, okay, but you can also do a deeper exploration there. They're all interconnected, but there is no one before the other.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much.
Hira and then Pinkle.
Hi, good
Hello.
morning,
Good
and
morning.
good morning, everyone. Thank you for this call, Ramya. So my question, Ramya, is currently I'm not employed anywhere. I'm looking out for a job and taking this course while I was really thinking. So wow, at this stage, what is the kind of outcome? What is the kind of impact that I can expect? Um, Due to which I must invest myself in this kind of a course at this stage in my life.
Great question. So, Hira, were you there at the start when I gave the villager story?
Today in the start of the call, sorry, I missed the
Okay.
start today.
For those of you who were there, and Hira, you can check the recording for that. But so she's left one village. She's in between villages, which is, and others will get it. But yeah, so Hira, think of the village as an analogy for a job or a context, right? From between one to another, which is actually a very, very, very potent place for doing inner work. And so I think it's a great time to do it. I'll give a very simple example. It's like, so you're reinventing yourself, upgrading yourself before you step into your new context. And in order to do that, now you're going to your reflections will all be based on your previous context and what you're doing. So you have that rich gold mine of experiences to milk, to make the changes you want to within, and then choose consciously without. So yeah. So you have an upgraded, elevated version of yourself, and you also choose. That's the outer thing. You will also have more self-awareness. You've done the discovery, and we have that whole thing on discovering your superpowers and all of that. So to choose the new context mindfully. I think it's a great place, is all I'm saying. It's a great place to do this work. And for those of you who are in an old context and you're again looking at a context change, you're doing it in parallel. You're doing it in parallel. So in fact, one of the taglines that I often use, and it's not just mine, there are others also who talk about it, which is that the work of crafting your next phase, your next career, actually doesn't have to start only when the first one is over. You can also, because your inner work and your experimenting and the self-knowledge can all happen before that. So, yeah.
Thank you. This gives some clarity. At the same time, I think when I did the 5-day workshop with you, weeks ago, I could really connect with this inner aspiration that I've had, that what is it that more than work that I would want to do. And because you would shared about that, how we completely villainize work, I think that really gave me the context to sit back to think my relationship with work. And today I feel a little more confident that, oh yeah, there is more than just a job. The job can be, there could be something more too. So hence, I think what I feel is that definitely we all have a relationship with work. Like you spoke so much about our relationship with money. So there's a kind of relationship with work. So far, it has only been so much that I've had. But now when I was here with you, I saw, oh, there is such a wide expanse beyond. And to have a very positive and abundant relationship with work. So I definitely see these conversations, this context is definitely going to help to create that, to move into the new space. So sure, I have this clarity now. Thank you.
Welcome. And look forward to having you aboard the course.
Cool.
Tinkle?
Hi, Ramya. This is Pinkle. I'm in my mid-career level. I lead a risk and compliance team. I'm very passionate about my work. Work doesn't bother me. But the other aspect of my career, or maybe like you mentioned, inner work is quite necessary. I have even gone through the NLP practitioner course. I've done meta models, but I still struggle. Like I still face that difficulty in using them, like when I need to use them, because that emotional upheaval is always there with me. Like the stress level goes up. I actually don't know. Like sometimes I don't even remember when did I last use them. So
Mm.
the feelings and those emotions is something which I really want to work for, because I think my next level, I think the inner work will help me to move to the next level. That's what my heart says, my soul, like maybe that's what I feel internally. But I wanted to understand from you, like, will this coaching program actually help me to maybe pave that career? Like, I really love the work which I do. I am like quite passionate about it. I have a very different career flow from the normal one, where people are maybe lawyers or people are a chartered accountant, but I have paved my way through like working through various organizations just through my experience and leading a risk and compliance team. Being a normal graduate and then doing my MBA, like a executive MBA from Deloitte when I started working for Deloitte. So it was only my experience which took me through places where I've worked for EY, Deloitte, and now GT. I lead a risk and compliance team. But the only thing which bothers me is like emotions and thoughts. So I wanted to understand, will this program help me to move to the next career level? Like,
Yes,
that's
yes, it will, and come aboard. And I'm going to use what you've just shared as an example, right? About why it's, for me also, it's taken me so long to identify these 10 modules. Like when Kamal was saying, so one of the reasons I haven't come out with my book is because there's just too much to put in. And it, instead of 10, like I've collapsed. If you've seen, I've collapsed resilience and failure. And some of you who worked with me before, you see that they're all subtopics, but I've collapsed them all into one module actually, because there's a lot here. But I absolutely wanted to include everything that could be a stickler, like, and which is why I've also put that bit about the goal setting and the measurement, because at different points in my life, I still get stuck, but when I used to get stuck badly, Pinkle, that's when, I would like then seek out a new teacher or something else and say, okay, I know all this, and yet I need something else. And that's how I hit upon the money block, for example, and I, did the deep work. So being from NLP, you already understand about thoughts and beliefs, and you get the value and the potency of all of that. So, but then there are a few more things that are still missing for you, which is like the stress management and the emotions. So I would say absolutely come aboard, because this is exactly why I've created this, like this whole 10 thing. Some of you might have done some of this and some of this and some of this, but you're still feeling that something's still missing. So now you get like the whole.
I think I've lost you. You've frozen. Yeah, now I can hear you. I think it got
Am I
frozen.
back?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah. So which is why, these, I would say, ignoring any one of these 10 as of now is what I've understood is, and you can see why it will sort of sabotage the effectiveness with which all the others. So that's why I'm even taking the liberty of calling it as a curriculum. Now, I don't know, 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, will I add something else? Maybe, but as of now, this is the most thorough curriculum that I have found and what I practice with myself and others. So please come, Pinker.
Thank you, Ramya.
Sure. Neharika.
Hey Ramya, hi. Thanks for the session. I'm kind of convinced I am going to enroll for this course, and I'm also convinced even more now because I am in the middle of shifting villages. Right, and 5-day course really helped me. What I want to get clarity on is how will the pod members be identified, because that's going to take half the time from this course, and I do believe that that's going to be instrumental in the success of the coaching program for me specifically. So just want to understand if there is any sense there. Also, this question is important because, as you said, I have just 6.5 years of experience. I may be one of those early ones in your cohort signing up for this course, so just being extra cautious there.
So, Niharika, so the pod, just to get everyone else up to date, one of the pod is a key component, which is why in this program, unlike my previous programs, there's actually an application criteria. So when you go to the website, it's not, you can't just sign up. And I don't mean to sort of be judgmental about it, but that's for two reasons, actually. One, because I realized in the past that sometimes, in a certain pod, if there's one person, it's a pod of 3 or 4 sometimes, 3 or 4, right? If one person is not showing up, it can actually erode the energy of the entire group, right? So that's why the selection is a very basic selection, but I want to have it there. The other reason I want to have it there is increasingly, remember the goals and the measurement of success and our own progress. I realize that I have to do it for myself to keep myself motivated on the work I do. And when I create programs and offerings, my success depends on your success. And again, I want to be very sure that whoever's coming in is coming in for the right reasons and not just because, hey, I have the money and I can afford it and therefore sign up, because I have had participants like that in the past. And then when they don't really show up or make use of the opportunity of, hey, I've not managed to help you, but that's also because you didn't show up and you didn't do the work. And this is not, it's not magic that I can do anything if you're not showing up and, doing the work and the exercises. So that's the other reason the selection is there. So Niharika, on how will we create the pods? I will try to make my best fit judgments, although I'm also going to tell people that if you want to come, because sometimes, and this works well, if you have a pod, if you have a friend who you want to work with as an accountability buddy, and you say, hey, we want to be in the same pod, it will totally be entertained. It's like you choose your own gym buddy to go with. And because because then you can continue, right? So if you want to create a pod, or you don't want to tell me I want to be with this person, you're most welcome to. Okay, people, any hands up? Otherwise, we will hold it today. Okay, I see no hands up. I'll wait 30 seconds in case somebody wants to ask anything else. Otherwise, okay, it's two people. Yes, Hira.
Okay. So once again, now while I'm thinking about it, I really want you to share with me, if you could make it specific in terms of what impact will I be able to create through this program? What outcome in these 6 months can I really expect? I am still not like raring to go to enroll for this course. I want to be absolutely clear.
Yes. Okay. So this is going to sound like magic, but I will make it sound like magic because it is. So here, literally, I don't want to put an upper limit on this is what you can create. This is because the reason I've called this career alchemy is you can create a completely new reality with work. And I mean it like that. And you will have the tools and techniques to keep upgrading, keep improving your reality with work in the ways that you want to. And that is literally what I have to offer to you, which means, let me use an analogy. I'll use physical fitness. Everyone gets it. You will understand, you will learn about yoga.
She started some bit, जो था basic, the album
Should I repeat you?
Sorry about it. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So let's say you want to get fitter. You need a basic understanding of A, fitness is possible. B, how does the body work? Basics of that. What kind of trainings help? What is the benefit of strength training? How often do I need to do it? What is the benefit of yoga? What is the benefit of meditation? How can I use it? How will I use it? And if I use these things, I can get a better body. Now, I'm not going to say you can lose exactly this much weight. You can lose weight if you want to, or you can get more flexible if you want to. You can start running faster if you want to. You can be stronger if you want to. You can start climbing trees with your kids if you want to, right? So you can really start experiencing more joy with your body, right? And that's what the entire physical and the benefits of nutrition, that's what the entire physical fitness world is about. So this is that equivalent in your experience with work. So you want to make more money? Absolutely. You want to have more ease? Yes. If you want to have more peace? Yes. You want to be more creative? Yes. You want to have more freedom and control and mastery over your time? Yes. You want to have great harmonious relationships, working with other people? you can work towards that, right? So what you want to create is up to you. And I will help you identify those goals. And, you did some of that also already in the 5-day thing, but the tools and techniques and why, and which is also why I am so passionate about creating this as a 6-month coaching program, again, because of my own experience with physical fitness and all, right? So for those of you who are not willing to, or you don't have the money to, you don't want to invest, you can still take bits and pieces of the curriculum. Like I told you, like what I've, and I don't know if you were there in the part of the call where I showed you where, I do have this put out in earlier versions of my courses, but they're 10 years older, but they're still good. They're still good. So there is the stuff you can pick up and you can work on your own. But when you work with me, you get to work on a systematic way. You get to answer your doubts as and when they arise. You also get access to this, more, I would say, not very tangibly crystallized experiences that I have in terms of working with other modules. So I can't really I work with many different modules and things that I've done. So you get that mentorship, which will come up only when you ask a question or when you're stuck, right? Which is also, that is the benefit of the container. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
One last question, Ramya.
Go ahead, because this is what
Sorry.
the call is for. Please ask.
Can you share the link of where I can look for the content of the course? Because I logged into your link, the website, I can't find the course, Career Alchemy.
Yes. Yes. So that one is not linked there. It's just because
If you can share that, because
I send it. I will just send it to you on the chat. So it is right/career alchemy. Yeah. Okay. So I've put it in the chat. So it's craftingourlives.com right/career alchemy. And yeah. Kamal, yes. You're muted. Or I can't hear you. Can others hear him?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So my question was, in terms of time commitment, what is the sort of time commitment on a weekly basis that you need to commit to? And like if you have travel in between, what happens to those meetings and or the weekly meetings then in that case?
Yeah. So the time commitment is Wednesday nights. I think it's 9 p.m., 9 to 10. So on alternate weekends, these will be live sessions with me. On alternate weekends, it will be with your pod. If you're traveling, your pod one, you can definitely reschedule. And because it's just going to be 3 or 4 of you, the live sessions with me will all be recorded, so you can catch up the replay. And apart from these, the 9 to 10 p.m., I would say set 1 week aside per week, right? So in a fortnight, you can think of 2 more hours. And that's on the upper side, because around 20 to 30 minutes will be the video content, the compulsory video content that you'll watch. Then there will be optional content. Okay. So this I'll tell to everyone, I'll give lots of optional content. Don't let that overwhelm you. You don't have to see it unless it's for people who have a lot of time, right? I just want to sort of have it there as a systematic reference. If you want to, so those you can do. The other 1 hour that you have is basically for the reflective exercise that you will do. Again, that's 1 hour minimum. Some people will want to do more as part of their reflective exercise. And it's just like, again, yoga and fitness. Like if you want to do more is better. I'm not going to stop you, right? So you can do more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That helps. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, all hands done. Have a lovely time, and I look forward to seeing some of you. Put the link there in case you're finding this video later and you don't have the link. Just go to my Facebook or LinkedIn page. I'm sure or drop us an email at contact@craftingyourlives.com, and we'll send you the link. And you can ask any other questions you want there also. There's an FAQ section, and I keep updating that FAQ based on questions that individual people ask. So if one of you asks a question, then that FAQ section is updated for everyone. Okay. And even if you don't join for this course, I hope you have a new way of looking at the possibility that you can create for yourself with work. So that is my main mission. The course is just a journey or a vehicle, and this is just one of, I hope, several courses that I'll be doing. So even if you don't join for the course, I wish you the very best of luck. Stay in touch. And I hope that if you're seeing this, you are left with this single awareness of the fact that you actually can experience a different possibility with work. It's a journey of creating that for yourself. And don't be fixated with the outcome of what you're creating, because I promise you, you will create. I mean, what I have created for myself with work is awesome now compared to what it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? It just gets better. But that said, I'm in this journey not just for that result that I've created. I'm in this journey because that journey of creating is so good. Like every time I unpack a limiting belief for myself, I'm like, that is not part of the final destination. It's part of the journey. And then that journey becomes enjoyable. And seriously, no one can debate this, okay? It's about the journey. Whether it's your work, your career, your life, your relationship, it's always about the journey. So wish you all the very best.
Thanks, Ramya.
Thank you, Ramya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you for all your comments in the chat.